Okay, this is just to document what's relevant to the pattern of conduct while an entity that's draining resources of a corrupt law enforcement agency. It's receiving funds, it's receiving support, it's receiving even organizational advocacy by these police organizations. They're all corrupt. Just want to point that out. But nonetheless, I want to document the entity that's engaged in monitoring. That's literally a loser. Think of federal group stalking and monitoring is like a bully system, and you have this underway by a government, like people and the reason why it really drags down the position of somebody that thinks that they're whatever somebody is convinced that they are by whatever position they hold. If that were even true, you are totally dragged down, okay, to the bottom of the bottoms. You're okay, scum bucket material when you are group stalking. You are a puppet of Satan, and you have the spirit of Satan on you by virtue of engaging in the elements of monitoring. You're a monitoring third party or state actor. And this is what the entity is doing. I want to document. So this is how pathetic it is. I'm prefacing what I'm doing because the entity is monitoring, and this is occurring in the workplace. This is federal group stalking and monitoring, another facet of the federal prosecution of the entity. Speaker Companies is not a legitimate company. It's the malicious guise under which the state's criminal system is underway, and it's occurring in the workplace. And this is draining the pockets. This is criminal prosecution of companies because it's not a civil matter when you're engaged in the criminal system in concert with the state. This is going to be a criminal prosecution of that company. And Todd Speaker and his not only his company, his employees, and the property itself is the malicious guise under which public corruption is occurring. So that's the significance of it's occurring in the workplace. And I want to also point out what is the ongoing purpose of this heavy stalking that's documented by the state. While I'm documenting the state, I'm documenting the people because they're group stalking together. And the entity is engaging in what is for purposes of I'm documenting, and then I go back to doing my job as a resident manager. The moment that I go back to doing my duties as a resident manager, the entity will also engage in what is more activity creation. And the ongoing desire is to engage in what is more harassment, thinking that they are, and I'm revealing what is the defeated mind state, what is the psychopath's desire for engaging in that, okay? So I want to share that with you because I'm letting you know I'm speaking to the demonic. I don't have to have a medical degree or a psychiatrist degree to go into that. I'm letting you know about what the demon possessed, what their criminal purposes. This is bringing into a federal tribunal the criminal purposes of the demonic entity, which is a public entity engaged in criminal surveillance. And the criminal purpose behind this also is to engage in what is harassment as an entity. And that is so foolish because, I mean, I'm going to let's give an ongoing. Okay, Lucy Santos is going to be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring with the heavily documented state of California, acting in concert with, again, the corrupt agency who uses helicopters, which is the hallmark where the P.O.C. is identified. Lucy Santos is living in relevant position. She is going to be prosecuted as a group stalker by living at the crime scene. I've already established the crime scene. She is living where the light source is rising and setting. She is directly documented also. In addition, this is the people of the state that are unilaterally demonstrating their criminal cooperation while they're driving over engineered light, while they're molesting me with engineered light, while engineered light moves it all across buildings while they're doing something as ordinary as driving their vehicle. In addition to that, even if this particular third party wasn't documented engaging in those malicious criminal acts, you are living in that specific environment, and it is for that criminal system. All you have to do is be present. So Lucy Santos is going to be prosecuted for the heavily documented group stalking in concert with the LAPD by living at the crime scene, having children living at the crime scene. She's a heavily documented group stalker who is, every time the entity is monitoring via helicopter, she's engaged in federal stalking in concert with that entity. Her minor children are on the grounds. She also lives and is maintaining presence on the grounds in concert with that entity that is, again, right now at, let's document, 10:48 a.m., engaging in what is amplified helicopter activity as a means of what is also Lucy Santos is serving what is the criminal purpose as well, to psychologically torment the targeted individual, the one whom she is stalking in concert with that corrupt government, in the shoes of that corrupt government, where the entity is for courtesy of Lucy Santos' criminal purposes, maintaining the light source from the beginning to the end of the day, maintaining methods of light activity, which is what she contributes, while she is engaging in what is documented methods of stalking in the path. She's also group stalking in concert with the entity that engages in conduct as via stalking in the path. Her minor children coming to the laundry room, engaging in what is criminal surveillance for purposes of audible activity, while the same corrupt agency engages in what is facilitation and monitoring, while her minor children are a means of facilitation, creating audible activity, in other words, maintaining presence in the path in that laundry room, where all the same elements of monitoring are underway. Greater than Alvarado Gardens, the pattern of conduct has already been established as a matter of what is a community-based crime. When you are looking at the entity stalking in the path with engineered light that's occurring by the masses, one vehicle after another, while I'm standing on any street, while I'm on the freeway, while I'm inside of a vehicle, while you're looking at the light activity travel across walls, while I'm inside of Starbucks, and engineered light is moving all inside of that public venue, while I'm inside of a grocery store, and engineered light is stationary above the heads of third-party group stalkers inside of that venue. It is replete with what is the maintenance of that crime scene. And as you are looking at the crime scene that's at Alvarado Gardens, where Lucy Santos lives, that light source is remaining over me at this venue. Lucy Santos is being subject to a federal prosecution, and it will include the criminal conduct that she is cooperating with. She's acting pursuant to that same criminal system, while LAPD is systematically targeting me in concert with her by virtue of her address being 1800 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 1, where she has minor children who she has also been documented engaging in, including them in those series of egregious federal offenses, which are also sexually motivated. While you're living at a crime scene, a sex offense is underway. Because you're living where the target individual is, you're engaged in an ongoing perpetual sex offense in concert with the corrupt government. You're doing it in the shoes of the state. That's the malicious role of the people of the state. And you're using and including children in that. That's also why she's losing her minor children. Okay? She's going to federal prison while she's a part of what is a system that was already created as a matter of the pattern of conduct. Okay? The system that the entity is engaged in. And all I did in moving to LA, the system follows me here. This is exactly what Lucy Santos is engaging in. This is how you have the pattern of the stalking with a directed light, the pattern of stalking with a light source, the pattern of stalking by the state that likes to use helicopters. This is evidence that surrounds Lucy Santos. She is facing an inevitable federal prosecution. She's going to federal prison. Her minor children that she has engaged, living at the crime scene, is engaging in minor children in that crime in concert with a corrupt government who is literally flying in circles over her apartment building, which is targeting me as on video, which is again documented on more than one occasion. The entity is maintaining a light source over me where she is a documented one engaging in psychological torment, and she includes her children. This is documentation that already exists. I want to be clear, as I'm documenting LAPD stalking, including while I'm on capturing this video right now, it is direct evidence. I want to show you how that system is already established with regard to, and by system, what I mean, well, I have already laid out the framework for how this system operates and what it looks like on the surface, which is documentation and prosecution for malice that Lucy Santos exhibits while living at a crime scene, and using children as well living at that crime scene, exercising no First Amendment rights, exercising no privacy rights. She's actually also in violation of federal housing laws. As a federal housing recipient, she also is engaged in federal stalking in violation of Title 18. Her and her minor children, any of those that are with communication devices, and little kids have cell phones. But I want to be clear, that crime is trickling down to everybody that has a cell phone in this household. And I'm just isolating the prosecution to how all 59 units are going to face a systematic prosecution for engaging in criminal conduct in concert with a corrupt government that continues to provide evidence against them, where the system is already established what they're doing and how they're doing it, and their ongoing criminal mind state while they continuously do so, including in the workplace. Lucy Santos is also going to be prosecuted for engaged in workplace terrorism, harassment, and sexual violence by entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. It's not going to be limited to the fact, oh, well, I was at work while the targeted individual was being hounded in helicopters by the state. I don't know anything about that. You are living at the crime scene. You are providing what is 24-hour. And by the way, the entity arrives at any moment in time. These demons arrive to engage in what is presence or absence at any given moment. They maintain real-time knowledge while they're engaged in surveillance on communication devices. Your claim that you're at work while the entity is flying over me 25 times, both in the workplace and in the private space, is no legal argument. You're living at the crime scene. You are engaged in what is the state's criminal pattern of conduct, and this is a part of This is a part of what are the federal repercussions for going in on the criminal conspiracy to place an American citizen under surveillance and corrupt and in concert with the corrupt government that uses the law enforcement agencies as the means whereby the entity is initiating. So what I want to say by initiating, because the entity uses the law enforcement to get you into the doors, for example, via kidnapping, to the sheriff's department, who is then monitoring you and kidnapping you inside of their facilities. And the entity also then intends to kidnap you further, and all they're doing is changing hands. The stalkers that are the LAPD, for example, to the stalkers that are the LA Sheriff's Department. Okay, and this is just an example of how the entity is kidnapping. The Sheriff's Department are group stalkers, LAPD are group stalkers, the people of the state are group stalkers, and then you're transferring hands, kidnapping. It's an ongoing continuation of kidnapping. Nobody has legal jurisdiction. Nobody has authority. All right, where you are established engaged in the P.O.C., it is the irrebuttable presumption of public corruption, and any custody of that person that's subject to the P.O.C. has been subject to a kidnapping. And everybody that touches is engaging in that is going to federal prison, okay? And this includes when the entity wants to then transfer you to any facility where they're also monitoring, as I've already shown you the pattern of conduct, and they're also engaged in kidnapping via criminal defamation. Okay, this is where the entity is engaging in what is a group stalking through the people of the state that are in the facilities with the target individual. Understand how you're engaging in this. It doesn't matter what the people of the state are medicated with. It doesn't matter what robe or what color of classification their mind state is demonstrated at. You're dealing with spirits. Somebody that has some purported mental illness, they have demon possession as well. And what the entity is writing on paper is legally irrelevant. I'm revealing to you what is occurring at the same time. Demon possession, which is inspiring the criminal conduct. So anybody of any sort of medical condition, some sort of mental illness, that is not in any preclusion for engaging in the state's pattern of conduct. The same demonic spirit over some third-party group stalker inside of a state facilitating venue, such as the venue where the entity is engaged in criminal defamation with the mentally ill that are demon-possessed, calling themselves medical professionals, by the way. They have the same mental illness condition, demon possession, while they're making a distinction amongst themselves as medical professionals versus the patients. They share the same condition. And this is revealing the mental illness of the demon-possessed who are maliciously targeting another. And they're doing it together. Take it back, big picture analysis at a macro level. This is what you're looking at on television when you're looking at the UC Irvine organizers. The people of the state are acting in concert with a corrupt law enforcement agency, and you're looking on the surface what appears to be people on different sides of the fence. They're actually of the same condition, and they're providing a narrative before your eyes, and they're acting as one. Just want to point that out. That's what's going on in the spiritual realm. This is demonic activity. So nonetheless, I want to be clear. The entity is engaging in what is exchanging hands with the target individual. Everybody's kidnapping from one aspect of the state to the other aspect of the state. And this is what I've already documented before I came to Los Angeles, by the way. Lucy Santos is not avoiding any criminal responsibility while she is documented living the intolerable level of criminal facilitation. And by the way, the entity does indeed engage. A group stalker will arrive at the drop of a dime, depending on what the system, what the entity needs. So you're claiming that you were at work while LAPD is documented stalking, flying over my office, flying over my apartment 17 times, 25 times, 32 times, 47 minutes in a circle. You don't have a legal argument, and you're going to be prosecuted for the system that you are inextricably linked to. You live at the crime scene. You're monitoring with communication devices. All right, you're literally documented driving in the engineered light at any time of day. You're going to be prosecuted for all that the entity does, including assault and battery as an entity where you are living at that same crime scene. Understand that how that works. This is the prosecution for any criminal conspiracy. You're understanding the conspiracy that exists between a corrupt government that's acting in concert with the people. Okay, this is what public corruption is, where they're keeping American citizens under surveillance. And it's beyond this, as I'm breaking it down for you with evidence that you can see, facts and evidence that are going to be presented in a tribunal, because we don't have to sit and pontificate about anything. We're not talking about pixie dust. We're not talking about chanting. We're not talking about them praying to Satan and sacrificing animals. We're talking about the crime scene. You can see the light source with your own eyes. You can see the impossible light activity with your own eyes. You can see them driving in that engineer light with your own eyes. You can see them going in and out of their apartments as they are demonstrating group stalking by living at the crime scene. You're going to be prosecuted for any and everything that the entity is engaged in, including while you think, and you falsely think, you foolishly think that you have some excuse and you don't. You're going to be prosecuted for everything that you are engaging in while the entity is documented, engaged in ongoing obsessive group stalking. What Luis Ramos is engaging in, Luis Ramos of 1814, apartment number 6, is engaging in concert and on behalf of the people, which includes Lucy Santos, whatever her time work schedule is. That's exactly how you're going to be prosecuted. It's not the individualization of some entity's crime. The entity is acting on a ceaseless basis using the multiplicity of faces against one person. It is a bullying system. They're all acting together. Okay, while somebody's sitting at the workplace, they're still being documented because the demons sitting inside of 1802 apartment number 6 are group stalking in the path. They're manning the fort. Everybody, they are maintaining presence at all times, maintaining activity at all times. You're not exempted. You're not excused. You're being documented while you're sitting at work, and then you return to where it is that you live at the crime scene. Period. Understand that. So I want to make sure that you, because the entity doesn't seem to understand how foolish its criminal conduct is. It is the implosion of a state system, which was before some secret. It's not a secret anymore. There's nothing secret or elite or even intelligent about it. You're going to prosecute like you would any other criminal conspiracy. You conspire to rob a bank together. Anything that Mary Jo and Jane engage in together during the course of that conspiracy to rob a bank, if Mary Jo kills somebody while that bank robbery is underway, that's reasonably foreseeable to result from engaging in a violent crime such as a robbery. And Mary Jo and Jane are going to be prosecuted for that federal offense, which is, for that felony murder and the conspiracy in and of itself, which is a crime. So understand how you're prosecuting. This is what's happening when you're prosecuting for federal group stalking and monitoring. It's a crime committed by the community. And they falsely think, because it's not individualized, they're acting by the masses. A whole bunch of demons are acting together. And I'm showing you how they're arranged in the law enforcement agency. They're arranged in the courts. They're arranged in the, even in the medical facility, serving to then defame that target individual that they're all monitoring and targeting together. Everybody's going to federal prison. Everybody can get it. You want to engage in targeting from every single angle. Everyone is going to you're going to be subject to the crimes befitting of the crime that you perpetrated against one, and you're not getting away with it. It's going to also inform the masses about how you engage in this conduct and your condition. What is it that you know about those that engage in this conduct? You know off the bat, even if you don't have the spiritual eyes to discern, these are demons, and it's demonic activity, and it's criminal. They don't even have any lawful basis to do it in this country. They don't. So I want to make sure that you understand how Lucy Santos is facing a prosecution, and that which she has, there is no lawyer that can help her. There is no legal argument that she will ever make that is going to in any way rise to the level of culpability that she maintains as a third-party group stalker. The system was already laid out and established, and she was choked out with the evidence before she knew what she was engaging in, as she sought to engage in targeting an American citizen that lives and works here, where she wants to be at Alvarado Gardens, because that's exactly what speaker companies and the people of the state conspired to engage in when they wanted to engage in this level of group stalking while I moved here and I started working here. And that is also, you know this by the maintenance of the specific environment. It's a very specific and detailed and intentional criminal act. You see this from the environment. You see this from the stalking by the state. And it's going directly on under the name of Lucy Santos. You're going to the only individualization is going to be the individualization of that federal prosecution. That's where individualization comes into play. Okay? And this is the bully system. So the only one that's going to be getting bullied is the government that thinks that it can target someone like this in this manner and think that you're going to avoid it. No, it's a great feat, but it is one that has already been completed. And that is establishing the reality of this government system. That's already been done. When you have the sunrise and the sunset outside of Starbucks in Ontario, California, you don't have a leg to stand on, Lucy Santos. You don't have a leg to stand on. And then you have, all I need is one. Actually, I don't need it, but they provided generously video of LAPD flying in circles for 47 minutes. You are a heavily documented group stalker. You are in the specific environment. You are going to be prosecuted like the baristas inside of Starbucks at 706 West Hall Boulevard in Ontario, California, because there is no shared sky space. There is no engineer light that's ever going to appear inside of my bedroom. There is no engineer light that's ever going to appear inside of my office. No light source that's ever going to appear over my head that is anything other than the criminal pattern of conduct that Dominic Choi, a demon-possessed group stalker, and the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, demon-possessed group stalkers that constitute the Los Angeles Police Department, the domestic enemy in the U.S. Okay, engaged in criminal surveillance. They're engaged in terrorism. And they're doing it with the people. And I'm going to identify the people at federal prosecution by name. And Lucy Santos is being prosecuted while LAPD is providing ongoing evidence against her. And during the course of this video at 10:48 a.m., providing more evidence against Lucy Santos, stalking in a perceptible manner to communicate a threat at 11:03 a.m. in concert while the entity is perceptible, making it stalking conduct in helicopter perceptible. The entity is also being documented while you're looking at you, Kim, exercising around the property. That's impunity. And stalking in plain sight with LAPD, while you're looking at demons such as Kumli and the Kang Kun of 1800 number 2, while LAPD is group stalking, that's evidence against Lucy Santos. It's the entity is acting as one. They're engaged in what is literally patty cake with regard to, I only have one hand, I have to hold my phone with my other hand, but slapping hands, they're engaged in criminal teamwork. Okay, they're acting as one. You don't cease to be a part of the entity while you're taking your shift at your job to engage. You're still engaged in federal stalking. You're still engaged in surveillance. And like I said, the pattern of conduct extends beyond the property of Alvarado Gardens. It's not limited to this property. If that were the case, the pattern of conduct would not have followed me outside of the doors of Starbucks. That's not what happens. Wherever it is that I'm sleeping, that's where the sun rises. Wherever it is that I go to sleep at night, that's where the sun sets. That's showing you it's any and everywhere. You can go wherever it is you think. The Cummings can move. Bennett Gosker, you can move wherever you want. That federal prosecution is going to find you. Okay, and it's going to be your nightmare where you sought to torment another, thinking you can maliciously engage in it. You can claim whatever you want in federal court. In this country, you get a right to your day in court. What you will never, ever have any legally relevant argument against is the maintenance of the specific environment, your direct engagement in the criminal system, which is not a coincidence. That's acting in concert, serving to facilitate the state system, which is heavy documentation against all of the aforesaid names. Okay, the entire community is engaged in 24-hour surveillance. Any and every time you go off to work, you're not removed from the entity. It's exceeding outside of the doors of Alvarado Gardens. The entity that's pacing on Alvarado Street, the entity that's remaining on the hillside, they're acting in concert with Lucy Santos. Her work schedule is not a removal from that pattern of conduct. That's the P.O.C. Turning up the ringer is Maria Solis for purposes of the pattern of conduct. Okay, turning it up louder for purposes of more activity creation. So I wanted you to be clear. In the workplace, Lucy Santos is being documented while I'm capturing helicopter activity. This is terrorism that Lucy Santos is going to be prosecuted for. This is why the people of the state do not want any part of public corruption that a government's engaged in. And where you do participate in it, where you are surrounded with evidence, which no third-party group stalker or state actor has any legal response that is relevant to avoid federal prosecution and time in prison and removal from whatever industry that you're in, that you will be permanently removed from where you pose a threat, such as the lights we're setting outside of the windows of the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, and I'm looking at it outside of my bedroom window at Alvarado Gardens. Okay, group stalking, ongoing impunity while Precious Bastillos is group stalking in the laundry room. All they're doing is pacing in and out. This is what they're doing as a community, and it's occurring while Lucy Santos remains a part of the entity. Going to work is not removal from that criminal system. This is how that prosecution is going to work, because this is how you prosecute any conspiracy, number one. This is how you and a conspiracy is a criminal endeavor amongst more than one person. They're acting as one. A multiplicity, it's a whole population. No, you're not removed. You're still being documented. She didn't physically put hands on me, but she definitely engaged in assault and battery as an entity when I documented that act of violence by the entity under the light source and engineered light. Okay, while the entity engaged in that act of violence in concert and on behalf of the corrupt state, who's providing evidence against her on an ongoing basis. That's how you're going to prosecute, because that's exactly what they're doing. That's the malice of the entity, and nobody is escaping. Only a fool would provide this level of evidence against its criminal co-conspirator. And why? Because it's going to fall right back on you. And this is the foolishness of the demon-possessed that they're continuously engaging in. And that's exactly how you're going to prosecute. And that's exactly what the evidence reveals, it suggests, and that's exactly what the evidence proves. Beyond a reasonable doubt at that, by the way. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. When I say I don't need it, I mean that. Why am I still documenting it? Because when I say Dominic Choi is fired, when I say disbanding, that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Everybody's going to federal prison. Every single last person. Everyone. All of the minor children are being removed because they live at the crime scene. You want to work at the crime scene? Maria Solis Alvarez, Juan Carlos, Selena Robledo, Don Nagel, Kimberly Fletcher, Yolanda Poon, Eddie Lang, those that I'm documented engaged in federal stalking online, they're going to federal prison. Teresa Becerra, she's done with the legal profession and she's going to federal prison. She doesn't work for speaker companies, but I'm providing you, that was a wealth of documentation while she was acting in concert with LAPD, being a group stalker via audible activity through a communication device, which she's also engaged in federal stalking. She's also on this desktop engaged in federal stalking. She's going to federal prison and she's done with the legal profession. Okay, when I documented that, she kissed her job goodbye in the legal profession. It's over with. All right, and she's also going to be a documented group stalker. And that's the reality. That's a cockroach in the spirit, maliciously targeting another, a psychopath. This is not name calling. This is based on your criminal conduct. And the LAPD, the state of California, in conformity to a documented pattern of conduct before I even came to Los Angeles, The entity is providing evidence against its criminal co-conspirator, which is not limited to those that are at Alvarado Gardens. As you see strangers come onto the ground, engage in the criminal pattern of conduct, they're engaging in the same criminal system. And they're acting in concert as one. It's all occurring under the guise. This is the entity. The entity is going to be individualized in federal court. Lucy Santos is going down for everything that she engaged in the entity that she's a part of. And why are you a part of it? Because of the specific environment that's maintained inside of my private space. You're present in the path. You're living in the path. You're a group stalker. That's already established. There's no exception. You have the entity stalking, flying over me at that in that specific environment, literally over me for 47 minutes in a circle in front of me, over my apartment, repeatedly while you're looking at the so-called sunset. These demons that are engaging in the ongoing pattern, like I said, it is insurmountable and it is irreducible. And Lucy Santos, I'm just letting you know how this is going to work in federal court. There's no attorney that's going to be able to help her. You can try, you can argue, but it will be legally irrelevant because this is a crime committed by a community. This is a crime committed by the government. And it's doing it in concert with the people. That's why you have a specific environment over me at Starbucks. By the way, using a venue such as Starbucks where you have the public, the masses, all of them coming together and rejoicing over coffee and mochachinos, frappuccinos. I don't drink that stuff, so that's why I'm stumbling trying to think of whatever they make in Starbucks. Starbucks is the quintessential example of this crime. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct by virtue of presence, and it's occurring at a public venue. This is what's happening at a apartment complex, and this is an outright departure from the sun being over Starbucks. I already established the P.O.C. when I was at Starbucks. You're talking about what's ongoing corroborating evidence against everybody who already knows they're going to federal prison that was working at Starbucks engaged in criminal summoning. Okay, because while the light sources documented me over here, you already know what's coming for you when I documented you out there. Okay. And this is ongoing documentation. It's not limited to those that live here. It's not. The entities engaged in ongoing criminal teamwork. And every time this is why I'm documenting it, because Lucy Santos is going to pay the price for it. Dominic Choi is losing his job, and it's going to be world news. Why? And what he is, what the world will also know, his secret. He serves Satan. He's a demon-possessed psychopath. And that's why the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department are literally engaging in an identical demonic criminal pattern of conduct. All those adjectives are necessary, okay? Because it's at the same time, it's criminal, it's surveillance, and it's also demonic. Okay, so I want to make sure that you understand that, because that's what Lucy Santos is facing, while I'm documenting again an ongoing laundry list of federal charges that she's going to face while being a third-party group stalker, vicariously acting in concert and on behalf of not only the state of California, but the people of the state who are vicariously acting on behalf of the state of California. The state is acting through the people, and it's not limited to this property. Obviously, you saw the P.O.C. at Starbucks, which is serving for ongoing juxtaposition. You have demons by any and everybody coming onto the grounds, coming on delivering a package. Okay, Lucy Santos is being documented while Amazon Prime is on the grounds. Group stalking, engaged in federal stalking together, engaging in a sex offense together. You're not removed. That's not how this prosecution goes, and that's not how the crime works either. They're not taking a pause. They're not taking a pause. They're not removing themselves. They're not taking a break. They're using any and everybody, a demon-possessed population, against one person. This one person is going to prosecute everybody for that, because I'm letting you know what the ordinary target individual is faced with, and it's a criminal conspiracy by the government. And it's established, it's supported by evidence. And the evidence is revealing their condition. It's a demonic, it's literally the phenomenon of engineered light, the phenomenon of the maintenance of the light source, the phenomenon of the ongoing pattern at the same time I do anything, including in a document, including on a communication device. They're engaging in that same elements of monitoring. First of all, they're demons, and second of all, they're engaged in surveillance. And it's the state. Okay, what I want to document is that the entity is engaging in what is harassment for the purpose of just wanting to harass me on the job, which, again, by being a group stalker, that's what you're doing. But I want to make sure that you understand every aspect of that criminal system, knowing when I'm documenting them. All right, knowing what I'm doing on the computer. Again, a psychotic. I mean, you're already psychotic when the entity is engaged in group stalking, but they're engaged in an ongoing criminal endeavor to stop me from being able to, and it's not stopping me, I'm documenting it, and I'm still doing my job. I've been doing my job, but the entity wants to interfere with your going on with the rest of your day. That's a desire to psychologically torment, to harass as an entity. While I'm ceasing from documentation, I've already captured my images. I've uploaded it to the Google Drive. I'm going to go back and enter the PO numbers for this, where that group stalker went out and made purchases at Home Depot. The entity sounds helicopter activity for purposes of interfering with my ability to do my job. So I want to make sure that I'm documenting that, because that's the ongoing demonic mindset of these demons that are using helicopters and stalking, and the demons that are in the laundry room and knocking on the door, which is audible activity creation. And I want to make sure I specifically document the entity that is Maria Solis Alvarez, who was group stalking, being a sex offender, while the entity was monitoring me inside of my apartment yesterday, as I captured her gray SUV in the parking lot, which is criminal presence, occurring under the guise of a speaker company's business, which is nothing other than a third party. You're going to be prosecuted. The entity is, represents the entity. Turning up the phone to the loudest volume is not because she can't hear it. It's for purposes of more impactful audible activity. So I want to make sure that ongoing specific intent, I want to document that. And that's why the ringer is so loud. I don't have it that loud. And it's not because that third party group stalker can't hear it. It's for purposes of monitoring. In the same way that they're knocking on the door and they're monitoring. It's 11:14 a.m. I want to document what is the ongoing criminal purpose to harass on the job. Okay, knowing that I'm going back to my duties as resident manager. Oh, no, let's fly over here, let's harass some more while I'm on the job. So that's inherent to engaging in group stalking in the workplace. But I want to make sure that I'm not only pointing out the pattern, it's when they're engaging in the elements of monitoring, which is revealing demon possession, and it's also revealing surveillance on the internet and in relevant position. It's also speaking to the hostility communicated by demons who are monitoring and are hostile to you, exposing them. It's also in the workplace for purposes of just wanting to get in the way of your having peace enough to do your job. These are miserable people who have the spirit of Satan on them, okay? And I want to make sure I specifically document. Top speakers going to be prosecuted. This is P.O.C. These are demons that are monitoring by virtue of knocking on the door. Oh, that's smart janitorial. So let's go ahead and document them. They're monitoring, stalking in the path, 8WLM840. That's the Ledesmas that were monitoring with 15-year-old and minor children yesterday while the light source was right here, stalking in the path. All right, they're going to federal prison while LAPD is flying repeatedly over my office. That's the lying in wait conduct, very mentally disturbing. They're waiting for me to come out. Look at the time frame. As soon as I walk out, they're pulling out. That's the lying in wait behavior. That's called stalking in the path. Any move that I make for purposes of surrounding in the environment, okay, in concert with the demons that are LAPD. 8HKA162, federal prison. Okay, systematically arriving on the grounds under the guise of cleaning the property. Everybody that lives here is systematically engaged in the system of surveillance. That's exactly what you saw the Ledesmas engaging in. A pack of demons sitting in a car waiting. Okay, here she's coming now. Okay, let's reverse out now. And under the light source, the entity is engaging what is light activity all over buildings and all over the asphalt, while those demons are engaging in the same lying in wait conduct. Those are sex offenders that are monitoring while my panties are down inside of my apartment as well. And they also live here with minor children. They're all going to be removed. And the entity is also acting in concert with Lucy Santos, whether she's at work right now or whether she is in her apartment group stalking with her minor children. She's not taking a break. They're engaged in state surveillance together. Everybody in traffic's monitoring. Everybody up and down the street. As I showed you the light source on May 7th, when this entity engaged in a physical act of violence. Where did you see the light source? Directly over their houses. And everywhere that you saw that light source by address, they're going to federal prison. Okay, I'm just documenting where you see the light source. I've specified it to that degree. It's not limited to that degree. Obviously, you know that because the specific environment is at Starbucks at 706 West Holt Boulevard in Ontario, California. There is no provision for ever there to be the natural environment such that the sun is going to be over my head at any time of day. Aiming into my bedroom. Never. Okay, that's impossible on its face. Hi, were you knocking on my door? No. No? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, Tiffany. This is P.O.C. It's currently 11:17 a.m. All right, that is federal stalking crossing path. While the entity is flying over me by helicopter, engaged in stalking in the laundry room, which is where she's been. Smart janitorial knocking on my door, audible activity creation, stalking in the past as I walk out, the ongoing simultaneity of presence, activity creation. There, you have a bunch of people that are engaged in surveillance on an ongoing basis. And what's wrong with these people is that they're not only engaged in what is a criminal system, because it's in concert with the state, LAPD. They don't have any warrant or probable cause, and they're all demons that are monitoring together. Okay, this is the criminalization of what is a demonic system. All right, and it's in violation of your constitutional rights, and it's the ability to surround the demon possessed with evidence that you can see. You can see. We can print it out and you can touch it. Okay, it is impossible under all circumstances, and it's occurring at public places such as, like I said, T-Mobile, such as McDonald's, such as KFC, such as Walmart. Okay, such as Starbucks. This is such as Target. Okay, you name it, I've already documented it. This entity is already surrounded. There is a chokehold level of evidence against Lucy Santos, who's going to be individualized at in federal court. Okay, that's how that evidence works. That's how that body of evidence flying over me 25 times while I'm on the phone with so-called legal representation of speaker companies, while the entity's doing the same. Oh, you're going to federal prison. This is what I'm saying. It's already taking care of itself. This is at this degree. I'm literally showing you, American citizens who do not serve Satan, who do not have the spirit on you, what the demon possessed are doing, what the demon possessed look like, what you've been deceived by, whatever movies you're watching, whatever you're watching on Nick at Night and Nickelodeon, talking about whatever entertainment that you're watching with regard to those that are obviously weird looking, and I put that in air quotes. They are all weird. Their behavior is what's revealing them as weird. Okay. And it does not matter, in other words, what they look like or what suit. They could be wearing Michael Kors. They could be wearing Gucci. They could be in rags, sitting, stalking, sleeping behind a dumpster. There's no economic, none of that. You're dealing with the spiritual, and you are recognizing them by their behavior. These demons are a part of a police department. They're using their resources, draining resources. In the United States, this is what a police department is committing 24-hour resources for. They're gassing up these helicopters, gassing up their vehicles, and stalking around in relevant position while the entity is going dizzy, flying over me all day long. This is what they are committed to, and this is the reality of actually what's going on. Okay, this is the reality of what actually is a priority, while the rest, it's a design for you to stay asleep, if you will, and focus on your Facebook and your TikTok page. Don't pay attention to what's actually going on. That's a deliberate design. The reality, the demon possessed, which are very spiritual, by the way, it's spiritual darkness, but they're very spiritual. They want you to be ignorant to the spiritual. They want you to focus on the outward veneer. Okay, these demons are very spiritual, and that's how they know you as well. And they're engaging in what is monitoring. They have the spirit of Satan on them, and that's how you have what is amongst the people that don't even have to personally know each other engage in an identical behavioral pattern. And their pattern is showing their all uniform focus, which is the target individual. It's also shown through the environment. They maintain the environment, by the way. Any movement that I get, presence in the path, some sort of stalking a presence in the path with light. That's what the Ledesmas just demonstrated. Those are demons, okay? And they're doing it on behalf of an entity. When you're looking at traffic, I told you you're looking at demonic activity. They're monitoring, and that's literally the sexual violence. This is the masses engaging in a sex offense while I'm inside of my apartment, and you're looking at pacing. They're driving an engineer light. The light source is in alignment to my window. You're talking about evidence of showing what's supposedly the sun that remains at Starbucks in Ontario, California. And you're looking at the LAPD flying over my apartment at the same time. This is a demonic system. This is a demon-possessed population. That's the bully system. And that's the ability to individualize that federal prosecution. Lucy Santos is going to be going to federal prison for it. Okay. Rita Vega is going to federal prison for it. Yolanda Ledesma is going to federal prison for it. The employees of Smart Janitorial are going to federal prison for it. Lorraine Pena is going to federal prison. Camden, she's going to federal prison. Camden Stratford is going to federal prison. Ty Lee, Carol Lee is going to federal prison for it. Okay, Tina Reed's going to federal prison for it. This is when you're going to individualize. You're talking about an entity that's acting as an entity at all times. Period. P.O.C. It's currently 11:21 a.m. Good morning. Just crossing a path. Hi, crossing a path. P.O.C. Okay, are you guys already, cleaning the floor or something?